Hey, good morning. Thank you, Scott. I want to get something out of the way up front. Blame it all on my ruse. I showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. Okay, I'm no Cheryl Lee. Now that we have that straight, let's get our expectations down a notch, please. So first of all, I want to thank Celeste and the Out and Equal team for inviting me to speak with you today. Intuit has been a proud participant of this summit for several years, and it is my privilege to be up on stage today getting the opportunity to speak with you for the next 25 minutes or so. And really what I want to talk about is I want to share some stories. I want to share some stories about our company, share some stories about my personal journey, and talk about the power of building a diverse and an inclusive environment in all the companies around the globe. To do that, I hope to set a little bit of context, just building on what Scott said about who we are as a company. And very quickly, you may recognize the products and the brands. The company started 27 years ago. Our founder, Scott Cook, had a very simple mission. He wanted to improve people's lives so profoundly they couldn't imagine going back to the old way. And he started with a product called Quicken. Here we are a quarter of a century later. We're a company with 7,800 employees. We have 50 million customers. And we just exceeded $3.5 billion in revenue this year. And as proud as we are of our company and our products, I have to tell you the secret sauce is the culture that Scott and the CEOs before me and all the employees have built over a quarter of a century. We have a set of values that define who we are. We show up every day and our hearts beat faster because we believe in these 6 core values. But we also believe in a concept we call True North. It's our compass. It's the way my performance is actually managed and measured by the board of directors, and it's the way all 7,800 employees' performance is measured. It's a very simple concept that every day when we show up to work, we commit that we will do the best we can be for our employees first, our customers second, and our shareholders third. And it's more than a pretty visual, it's more than a PowerPoint, it's more than a performance review. I'm proud to say that when we began to get this right about a decade ago, we've been listed as one of the top 100 best places to work for the last 10 years, and we have a lot of work ahead of us to be the best we can be. At the core of this concept of True North is the understanding and the appreciation of the power of diversity and inclusion. And when we began talking about this explicitly in 2002 as a company, we adopted this visual, this metaphor of an iceberg. Now, any good sailor, any good captain of a ship would tell you that the real power, the real mass of an iceberg is actually hidden beneath the surface. You can only see 3/10 of an iceberg above the surface. But what you have to truly appreciate is the 7/10 that can't be seen. This is the same of every one of us. We can see race, we can see gender, we can see skills and capabilities. But the true power of who we are and what we're capable of being is often that which can't be seen. Our life experiences, our sexual orientation, our religious beliefs. And that is the power of diversity and inclusion. But you have to get it from beneath the surface and talk about it explicitly. Our company began the journey a decade ago. Standard kinds of processes we've gone through. We first built awareness by talking about the iceberg. Then we began to build engagement, and our employees got the contagious enthusiasm. We began talking to each other and forming networks. And then our energy got focused externally, and now we're at that point where we're trying to have an impact. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to be here today. I come from a family of politicians. Local politics, but still something in my blood and my aspirations. And you know, a lot of people don't want to let you know where they stand on certain issues. Well, it is now on video. It is now out for everybody where I stand on this particular opportunity, and everyone will know the rest of my life that I stand clearly as an ally for you. I'm going to talk about my journey a little bit later, but I want to tell you that at Intuit, in 2004, I was asked to be one of the founding members of our Diversity Council. These were a hand-picked group of 10 executives from across the company to begin to explicitly talk about this iceberg concept. And I have to tell you, when I first got invited, I was a little puzzled. I said, what does a white male from West Virginia have to offer? A diversity initiative. And then we began to talk about the iceberg. And I realized growing up in a very rural part of West Virginia with 1,300 people, with two proud parents who didn't have the ability to graduate high school because they were young parents, with family members that I loved who had gone through some adversity like substance abuse, and then for me to graduate college and have one of my first employers send me to New York to a communications course to get rid of my accent, I began to realize that the more I defined myself in diverse terms and thought about the things below the iceberg, the more I became connected and more inclusive with everyone else around me. And then it really hit home for me, because I tend to be analytical, when I watched our former President Clinton talk about the outputs of the Human Genome Project. Now, for those who don't know what the Human Genome Project was, a 13-year effort where scientists from around the globe were tasked with decoding the human DNA. And they discovered there's over 3 billion strands, or what they call bases, that make up the human DNA. But that wasn't the power. The power is that 99.8% of every human being's DNA is identical. Only 0.2% make us different. And yet we live in a world where we focus on the 0.2%. And while it's important to appreciate and understand those differences, the power comes from focusing on the 99.8. And that's really what I want to spend a few minutes talking to you about today. I want to share some stories, I want to share some examples that basically help companies understand what we're on the journey of learning ourselves. If you can create an environment where employees can bring their true selves to work, the entire iceberg is out there for conversation, and they feel safe enough to not have to play the pronoun game, not have to try to pronounce the word ice instead of ice. And that's not the same as what this is. That is a nice ice. Then your company is going to become better connected to the customers in the world you serve. But most importantly, it's going to give you the power to speak up as an individual and to inspire through your action. So let me just share a couple things very quickly, starting with the power of authentic employees. Now, I shared this concept of True North, and I said we set out every day to deliver the best results we can for employees first, customers second, shareholders third. We didn't do that to be nice to our employees. It's actually based in research. Study after study after study after study has been done that proves companies that first focus on building a great, diverse, and inclusive environment will always do a better job for customers and will always win in the market. 2 studies that I'll point out here. The Harvard Business School in the 90s did something called the Sales to Service Profit Chain that proved across multiple industries, if your people are fired up, engaged, and loyal, your customers will be happier and your shareholders will be rewarded. In this downturn, in the latest recession, the Conference Board did another study that showed statistically, if you can increase the commitment of your employees by 10%, they will put 6% more effort in, and your financial results will improve 2%. That's why we start with employees as the first stakeholder in everything we do. But look, we're not all the way to bright. As I was getting ready to come here today, I was sitting with many of our Pride Network members, LGBT Network members, and they were helping me fully appreciate and understand what they've gone through in their lives. And here's a video clip of some of the experiences that they have gone through in their professional career. Can I please roll the clip?